Welcome everyone. So my name's Sarah from Tribal. I haven't done one of these for a while, and I haven't done one of these sort of LinkedIn lives before, which is Tribal on Tribal. So we're just talking from our perspective and sharing some of our knowledge. So it would be great for those that are watching this live. We'd like you to be part of this conversation, because today we're talking about why marketing needs to be involved in your social selling program. And I'm joined by Felipe, who works at Tribal. He's our Chief Revenue Officer. And my background is more marketing. So you've kind of got, and we're in separate rooms, so we're not going to fight this out. But this is going to be so much fun, because we have long believed in the power of marketing and sales working together. And I just don't think there's any better time for those two teams to align. And honestly, I've been talking about marketing and sales alignment for well over 20 years, getting a bit bored of the conversation. But I think the technology is there now that it means that we can start to truly align, which is brilliant. So anyway, if you're watching, please pop something in the comments. We'd like to engage with you real time. If you're listening, you can't do that, but come to the next live event and you'll be able to do that. So yeah, Felipe, hello.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, we really want to welcome your questions, your comments. We can make this very interactive so that it can be very conversational. But Sarah and I, we have been collaborating when it comes to marketing and sales here at Tribal. So this is something that we do every day with our prospects, with our customers, but also this is something that we help our customers to develop as well. And social selling is at its most effective when there's a real collaboration between marketing in sales, right? When they're working in sync, where they have clear KPIs and clear roles. So the conversation today is all about the challenges, but also the opportunities, and giving you an idea of what that process, that framework can be, so that this can also, you can develop this in a way that is scalable in the business, and that you can design this your own organization as well. So this is what we have been discussing. And when it comes to revenue, Sarah, no one wants to leave any money on the table, right? You want to explore every single opportunity to the fullest. But we're also all working with limited resources. There are only so many hours in the day. There's only so many people in the team. So you want to make sure that you're focusing your efforts on the real opportunities, and you're warming up those opportunities until people are ready to have that conversation. From marketing perspective, what are the biggest risks that you see when marketing and sales are not aligned? What happens to marketing when that's not happening?
Yeah, and you were saying about resources, but budgets are not there anymore either. You know, companies don't have the luxury of throwing more people, more money at marketing. You just doing more is no longer the answer. You just physically can't do more paid, more ads, more. It's just not, it's not feasible, it's not scalable. And quite frankly, you know, organizations are tightening up, right? And it's about doing the right things at the right time to the right people. So yeah, I think for me, the misalignment, and I've found some really interesting articles on this. I think we should talk about the cost of misalignment and getting it wrong. It's quite interesting when you tap that into Google, there's different perspectives and things, but there are some also pretty shocking stats around how misaligned organizations are. So one of the first ones I got was, what is the cost, right? So which one was this? This one was, you know, poor alignment can cost 10% or more of the company's annual revenue. Wow. I think that came from LinkedIn. Not sure how they worked that out. But then there was another one, which is Sugar CRM. They said it cost 63% of sales and marketing organizations. I think Ryan might put the link in the chat. Say misalignment prevents them from growing a business, and they reckon for mid-sized businesses it costs about $5.5 million a year, because these two are not talking together. And when I say misalignment, I don't mean we all aligned on which markets we're going to, we all aligned on. It's way more granular than that. And there was the one that I'm sort of chuckling about is the one that I've just read from Marketing Week, which I think Ryan will put the link in, because there's a shocking stat, which is 16%. And it said, what are we talking about with 16%? We're talking about how aligned, if you can imagine the circles of doom, as marketing call it, in B2B marketing, you've got marketing targeting people, and then you've got sales targeting people. The overlap currently is 16%.
Oh.
Really, say, I mean, this is shocking. We're not talking
Mm.
about the size of the circles here. Marketing probably should be going for a bigger circle, but the fact that there is only 16% alignment on the organizations that marketing's targeting and the organizations that sales is targeting, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Is crazy. That's it, circles of doom. And it's just fascinating to me that you just think, look, okay, really, sales should be going after 100% of their target, but marketing
Hmm.
will go beyond that because they've got to get to future customers, not just the ones in market today. But I just think these articles are quite interesting, and I just feel you can't do everything to everyone all the time. We just don't have the budgets, to your point, Felipe. We don't have the money, we don't have the people, we don't have the scale. We have to do the right things to the right people at the right time. And this, for me, is about laser focus and complete alignment. Right, I'll get off my soapbox now. What's your thoughts?
No, I think from sales, look, the complaints that you might usually get from sales is, oh, this lead is not good enough, or this content that's been created for me to share on LinkedIn doesn't really speak to the pain points of my customers, or it's not really going to help me to drive the conversations, or I just booked this call and this person wasn't ready to have that conversation. So it's kind of like a missed opportunity. You tapped that a little bit too soon. So there's
Mm,
usually some of those questions, but I think overall is taking ownership of that process, because if sales and marketing are going to work together, I think it requires proactive collaboration from both sides. So it's my responsibility to spot trends in the sales process, to really think about the keywords that my prospects, that my customers are using when I'm talking to them, the pain points that they're sharing, the objectives that they have, the KPIs that they have in the organization, the situation of the organization as well, because timing matters and you want to reach for those opportunities when these companies are in a growth mindset, because when they're going through a crisis, they have other buttons that they need to push. So they're not really thinking creatively. And this is not a moment where they're really thinking about investing into new things. And this can come from sales, because we are keeping the finger on the pulse. We are connected to these accounts, we're connected to these people. I think that is also important to bear in mind, that building relationships that are based on trust, it takes time. And we have seen this sales cycle is stretching longer and longer, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because while you're building that trust, that means that once you get that deal, the deal will be much bigger inside, because they trust the organization, they trust in you as a trusted advisor, and they trust that they'll be working with the team, they'll be able to carry out this project. So it helps you to move away from those
mm,
tiny projects that takes you so long from a sales perspective to grow that account, for you to work with a bigger program that has clearer KPIs. And then for you, as part of a sales team, it's an account that is easier for you to grow, rather than growing from 5K to 100. It's easier to go from 100 to 300, 500.
mm. There's a couple of things that you've just said there, actually. I think one about listening to customer conversations and feeding that back to marketing to create what I call agile content, right? If this is what we're hearing on the streets, if this is what we're hearing, the issues that they're talking about, the things that they're worried about, the concerns that they have, let's feed that back and create agile content. And I mean, it's misaligned even at that level, right? You have to create content for the brand, but where's the agile content? The content that the conversations from sales are feeding into that part of the
Mhm.
content strategy, which I love because we do that here. And that's what we do. But there's another thing that you said there about sales cycles getting longer. And you've got to sell to a village now. You can't sell to one decision maker. Decision makers turn, they take their network with them. It disrupts sales relationships with that customer. They get someone new in, they start to look elsewhere, to look at options. It's quite disruptive when you rely on that one decision maker.
Mm.
And for me, when you said that, I'm thinking, yeah, marketing's role in this actually is to identify who the village is, who are the buying circle committee. And it's the sales role to build their network and multi-thread across that and crawl across that organization. And I think if you're not doing this in alignment, you're going off in different directions, and it's a waste of paid ads. It's a waste of, and so I think for me, it's communication. A lot of it, I think. I do wonder
Yeah.
if a lot of it is communication. How you
Yeah,
get that
and
feedback.
yeah, I agree, Sarah. And I think what's happening also, you were talking about that overlap, right? Where both marketing and sales are targeting the same people. Imagine
Mm,
how confusing that must be for the prospects when they're getting bombarded with messages from different sides of the organization, maybe with the same content. So it's
yeah.
important for you to have that alignment and establish where that prospect is sitting in your sales pipeline. Is this a pre-sales opportunity? Is this already a sales opportunity in the pipeline? And being able to define those roles of who's nurturing that and until what point, and when is that handover from marketing to sales. I mean handover, but we need to have visibility of the whole. Like I need to be able to see the ones in marketing are coming. What for me from as a sales perspective, I want to know the names that I'll be probably talking to in 3 months, in 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, right? Like the prospects that we are nurturing with content, the connections that we're still building from the ground, the customers that really match our ICP that we want to go after, and that we feel like the solution that we have can really make an impact. But I can only do that by participating and joining those conversations. And I think that, again, like this is why I keep talking about this proactive collaboration, because it requires for you to step outside of your comfort zone and
Yeah.
make yourself available for those calls and really spend the time. And we've noticed that since we started having this collaboration between sales and marketing here in our organization, we have been able to accelerate the sales cycle. We have been able to go for bigger deal sizes as well. And we recommended for our customers to do that. Social selling has evolved so much in the last few years, right? So before we were talking about
Yeah.
profile optimization, we were talking about creating a LinkedIn post a week, the importance of networking. Now we're talking about multi-threaded connections. Now we're talking about using LinkedIn Sales Navigator more actively in a way that's a bit more advanced. We're talking about using this as a way to monitor what your competitors are doing as well. So there's a lot that can be done by both departments, but I think it requires for you to really establish a framework where these meetings, these calls are happening. And it doesn't necessarily need to take time from everyone's calendars. It can be an Excel spreadsheet. It can be kind of like a table on your CRM tool, but you need to provide that visibility and you need to give an update on those opportunities for both of those areas to really work together.
Yeah. And I'm going to share some stuff. I've got to do a little shout out. So, hello, Justina, who is traveling back. She's are you actually on the ferry, Justina? Or are you? Yeah, the Amsterdam Newcastle ferry. So, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Nikki as well. Welcome. And anybody else who's joining us live, please leave a comment and join the conversation, because it's an interesting one, this. But there are a few things that you mentioned there. I keep taking notes because I'm thinking, yes, you talked this whole handover, this traditional, we'll nurture them. And then once we've got a meeting book, we'll chuck it over and we're done. That's my KPI done. It's this siloed approach to
Mhm.
processing prospects, which just doesn't feel right to me. This is not how in modern B2B sales and marketing, this is not how it's done, right? The whole download an ebook, let's call them up, let's try and process that into people who are at different stages. They're consuming different pieces of content at different stages of their buyer journey, right? They don't want to be interrupted and they don't want to be sold to, right? So they're just educating. And this, for me, this is this is where it's fundamentally broken, because at Tribal, and I did say we'd give some of our secrets away. So we've always likened this, haven't we, to like a campfire approach. And we'll have people that are really close to the campfire. These are our closest customers, the ones that we work with all the time, which are all of them. We've got some lovely customers. But then outside of that, you've got people that are getting warmer to the fire, and then you get a bit further. And we're constantly looking at who's coming closer to the fire, who's getting warm. Now, you don't wait, Felipe. You don't wait until marketing's chucked something over and said, oh, this person's requested a meeting. No, you bring in the social selling process earlier. that you engage your account executives and your BDR team, if you have a BDR team, and you get them collaborating and working on those that are showing high intent. Now, a lot of our customers have tools like 6sense, right? So you can find the 5% that are in market that are tap, tap, tap on Google looking for your solution. But how do you find those? How do you squeeze those further and find the ones that are already showing intent on your organization? So not just on the category intent, but actually on your organization. And then you go laser focus, and you do that through LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And this is how we manage that campfire analogy. You know, you have people on the edges. Well, you can try and go after them, but generally they're not warm enough yet. So your social selling process kicks in at the point where they're starting to show more relationship intent, not just in-market intent, but relationship intent. And this is what I love about our process and our system, is that we can often see people coming before they've picked up a phone, reached out, got a referral, however it is that they come to us. But it's a really smart, intelligent, insight-driven way to driving pipeline growth. It is not the let's do everything. You do ads, you do search, you do content, you do events, you do and demand center, you do outbound calling and smash out some emails and see whether any of them stick. This siloed approach does not work. You need a unified approach that's more focused. Okay, you see, I'm back on my soapbox again, Filippo. I can't help myself. You see, I love this.
Yeah, we get really excited about this. And look, this has completely
We do.
changed my sales call plan. It really changed how I jump into a call where I'm talking to a new prospect or whether it's a follow-up call, because I can use those marketing insights to really connect with the customer. They love it when I'm able to mention something that they downloaded from our website or content that they have engaged with, because we're monitoring all of that. They love it when I get to tell them, oh, does this person need to be involved as well? I can see that they have a similar role to yours in the organization. Or I mentioned something that like another company that they have purchased recently. So you're showing them that you understand how the organization works. You're showing them that you understand the organization structure. You're showing them that you're paying attention to how they're engaging with your content and how they are, which, you know, what kind of content they're sharing online as well. And that helps you to accelerate that relationship, and that moves a lot faster. And this is what you need at the start. What you want is to buy some credibility. You want to position yourself as a trusted advisor, but also for a company that like we help companies to activate their sales team. By modeling those behaviors in my sales call, I get to tell them and share with them what they should be having on their own sales process. So they get to see how we do it and they get to see what they could do it, right? And I get to share those secrets with them. I get to share with them, this is what we look at when we're looking at LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We're looking at buyer intent. We're looking at who we are connected to. We're building account maps. We have lists of where we can see all of those prospects, and we know exactly who to engage and what's the kind of like the angle that we can go for. And what they don't know in the background is that we have already created content, like you were saying, Sarah, so that they can self-nurture, right? So we are creating blogs, we are creating LinkedIn posts, we're doing LinkedIn lives, we are creating carousels, we are creating content that speak to those pain points and objectives, and also sharing a little bit more of your framework, so that when I talk to them, this initial call is more strategic and less of an introduction. We can actually go to the point of like discussing what the possibilities could be, because they have already self-nurtured through the content that we have shared.
So, and this ties back to one of the first points. So I see, love the campfire analogy. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, and we've been using that for years now, actually, but
Yeah.
we've never really spoken about it. But we have. I always remember briefing our marketing team. I think it was you, Justina, and I said, you know, I want to disrupt old marketing. Digital marketing as it is will not work for us. It's not the way it's done. And this was a few years back, and we have been refining this collaborative approach to sales and marketing for quite some time. There's something you just said there, though, about I go into those it's relevancy, right? You walk into sales conversations knowing the content that they've read, the content content that they've watched, the content that they've downloaded, because we are using insights. If you are not aligned, sales and marketing, you don't have those insights. You go cold into those calls. You're asking basic questions that really, quite frankly, the modern buyer expects you to have done your research. They expect you to come informed to those calls. They don't expect you to have all the answers, but they do expect you to have done a bit of research, and bringing those insights together, as you've succinctly put it. I love it. You're not talking about content in isolation. You're building rapport and you're accelerating that conversation to deep and meaningful conversations, rather than, so what is it that, tell me about your pain point. We know the pain points. And guess what? Because sales feed into marketing content, we're already creating content about pain points. So they are self-learning. I love this topic. It's so, it just makes sense. I can't understand why more teams don't align, not just in content, but in insights, in how they collaborate, in terms of how they approach. You talked about account maps in Sales Navigator. Sales, and that annoys me. This is turning into an absolute rant. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is not just for sales. I had a bit of a rant on this on LinkedIn the other day. It's not just for sales. You work collaboratively through the tool. So you work collaboratively through content. You work collaboratively on insight. So your sales teams rock up to sales calls with all the insight and intelligence that they need to have an informed conversation and become relevant and build rapport as fast as possible. But actually, you can align on the technology, which is like the third sort of pillar in here. Sales Navigator is not just for salespeople. Your marketing, your BDR teams, your account executives should all be collaborating through that platform. And you talked about account maps, but we could, yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, Sarah, I think it's so important for you to, one of the mistakes that I think we've made at the start, and I think it's important to share that because this is only how you learn. And there's so much of this that is experimentation, right? And this is how you're
Yeah.
able to innovate, and this is how you're able to improve the process. I think like you touch a very important point, which is the data. The data will be able to tell you where to focus, what to prioritize, where and how to make those conversations really come to life. And at the start, you really need to fight off that feeling of like just looking at those individual actions of interaction, right? So someone engaged with my post on LinkedIn, someone connected with me on LinkedIn. What you want is to have an overview and look at the trends and the behaviors, right? So that you're not only looking specifically into how account A is engaging with you and how account B is engaging with you, but do you see any other patterns in terms of industries, in terms of geographies, in terms of company size? Because that will help you to project as well where to go next. Which other companies can you start adding to that pipeline of prospects that you want to be talking to in 6 months, in 12 months? So if company A and company B that are from the same industry, they're now engaging with my content, they are now interacting with me, doesn't mean that this could be bigger for this industry. So maybe could I have company in C and D added to the list as well, right? So it's almost like if this means this, then I might be able to add more companies to my list. And this is what you want to really look for those patterns and behaviors so that you're also qualifying those leads in, but qualifying them out, right? So if I see that, for example, a specific industry might be struggling or going through major, reorganization, so that might be an industry that I don't want to focus right now, and I can put my efforts somewhere else. And I think we can only do that with the data. And I think that like this is why it's so important for you to say that LinkedIn Sales Navigator is more than a sales tool. It's a marketing tool. It's a tool for both of us, and it can be shared by both departments. You can have visibility of lists. You can have visibility of the leads, the account that you're sharing. But most importantly, like I think it's the main source for you to have that conversation that is less based on perception and finger on the pulse, which is also good, but really based on data, which is accurate data, fresh data, and a lead scoring that you trust.
Yeah, and I see here Haley put sales insights drive marketing ideas, and they so do, because what you just talked about there is, if we're talking to more customers within a certain industry around a certain topic, if you don't feed that into marketing, that doesn't get incorporated into the
Mm-hmm.
marketing strategy and the targeting. I mean, we do this all the time because we look at lookalike customers, right? So if you get one in a certain industry, you think, okay, maybe that was lucky. But if you start getting another one, then you start to think, okay, this has got
Yeah.
legs.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing, we need to maybe start producing some industry specific content around this, do a campaign around this. And again, it's like agile marketing. This is, I think, B2B, where in an industry which is still very event driven, it's hard. It's hard to, and when we say digital marketing, quite often we think, oh, well, it's email and ebooks and things like that. It's not. It's data and insights. It informs everything, and technology is the platform for that. And I just feel, I know I keep ranting on about Sales Navigator, but I just, as a marketer, I see so much value in that tool, working in collaboration with sales teams to not find just the ones that are showing intent, but the ones that have category intent and the ones that are growing. And then, right, and again, this is another little secret that we keep track of, but we look at how well connected we know. And there's, oh, where's my stats on that? I had some stats on this actually somewhere. You're 16% more likely to win, and you don't have this, Ryan, so you can't put this up, but you're 16% more likely to win a customer if you have 4 or more LinkedIn connections into that account, right? So this is really quite incredible. So we track that, right? So on the ones that are showing that are closest to the fire, that are hottest towards our campfire, we're looking at what we're actively increasing our connections into those accounts, right? So you start to build that multi-thread network in there. And then another indicator for us is when they start to move into our CRM system, because then we know we're having an online conversation or we're having one off LinkedIn. So you start to track that relationship. How many contacts have we got in the CRM? And if you're doing point scoring and things like that as well, you add all these things up. So these are just data points, leading indicators, data insights that tell you that this collaborative approach is working. I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest. I do have to.
No, we do have a final question before we finish. But what is the one quick win that you think marketing can do today to better support sales?
Talk to them. Listen. Sales conversations are your biggest and best source of content ideas. I think, sales insights drive marketing ideas, what Hayley said. For me, that's critical. But so you asked for one, so maybe I should just stick to one.
No, we can have two. That's okay.
Can I have another one? All right,
Yeah,
because for me, this is where it ties back to advocacy. Okay, so you get inspiration from sales conversations to create content that you know is relevant to the issues your customers are experiencing. But then you engage your employees, your experts, to create content. And when you do that, and it comes from a place of authentic expertise, not some, I don't know, nameless blog that's been published onto your website. It actually comes from an expert within your company. And then one thing we haven't touched on today is paid, which I think is the final part of this, really, which is, where paid teams are sat in silos. They're sponsoring ads in front of people. Well, sponsored content behind your employee expert content in front of your prospective customers is absolutely brilliant. And there was a stat which I've lost somewhere, but it was absolutely, if I find it, I'll put it in the chat. But it's all about I've got it somewhere. I am going to put it in the chat. There is something somewhere. But it's about nurturing those audiences with sales content. It is the circles of doom. Take a look at that, because it talks about putting ads in front of prospects before sales or BDRs reach out, and the impact that has on email response rates, on connection requests. You've got to align even at this level. You can't be putting ads in front of people that your sales or BDR teams are not engaging with. Sponsor employee expert content to your list of prospects that you most want to convert, that are warmest, that are closest to the campfire, and sponsor those ads in front, because it's going to make it so much more easier for your BDRs to get a response to their email. It's going to make it so much easier for your AE to make a connection request and build their networks into that account. Just on so many levels. And this is, for me, the final part of alignment, which is get your paid teams aligned to your sales goals. I feel like I've just ranted this whole session, Felipe. I'm sorry, but I think as we've worked through it, I'm like, yeah. What's the one thing you think?
Yeah. Oh, I think you covered it from a different angle, because for me, from a sales perspective, I really want marketing to help me to nurture those opportunities with content, so that when I have the conversations with that specific connection, that you have been able to educate themselves through the content, so they know a little bit about what they want, what they don't want, and what they can expect by running an employee advocacy program, an employer branding program, or a social selling program. But in order for that to happen, it requires for me to share the contents of my calls with customers, right? So all of those notes that we take from those calls, all of the transcripts that you might have, you need to turn that into actionable information for the marketing team to be able to use. It requires for you to have those conversations and give ideas on what kind of content you think will resonate with your customers, so that the content can be created. So that's probably the best way. And what I was saying also about looking beyond account A and account B, but thinking about the industry, I think it's so important for you to be thinking, when you're thinking about your paid campaigns, for you to be targeting specific companies, but also be targeting specific industries. And for that, industry specific content can be so relevant, right? So my customers want to see social selling applied to their industry, or employer advocacy applied to the industry, so they know what to expect, they know how to grow that, and also they feel like we know that area enough to create that content for them, that we have the expertise, we have the case study to support that, and that can only be created with collaboration between sales and marketing.
I've kind of summarized, I think, the 5 points that we've sort of discussed today, which is, first, you've got to align on content, right? So marketing, listen to sales. They're the best source of your content ideas and inspiration. If you're not listening to what customers are asking, or what they're talking about, or what's trending, your content risks being irrelevant. So that's the first place to align. I think the next one that we talked about was targeting, making sure that we are laser focused in partnership. This 16% overlap, that's just, it's shocking, right? And it's a waste of money and time and resources and everything else. There needs to be far more alignment, not going after everybody, a whole region. I remember a conversation with a customer where I said, well, who's your target audience? Well, it's everyone in this state in North America. I was like, no, let's have a think about this. So it can't be everyone. So what industries? Are there any industry trends? Are there any demographic trends? Are there, so really laser focus and make sure that you're both targeting the right people. Because if you've got marketing over here and there, you've got a 16% overlap, and that's not good. Third thing, insights. If you didn't have those insights, you couldn't have those informed conversations. When you rock up on that first call, you sound informed, you sound relevant, you sound like you've done your homework. Marketing, you've got to give those insights. You've got to tell your sales teams like where they've landed, what they've read, what they watched, what they looked at, what they subscribed to, when they subscribed to it, what they're engaging with. Give your sales teams that kind of data. For the fourth one, tech. I won't go ranting on about that again, but Sales Navigator is not just for marketing. But there we go, we'll leave it at that. And the final one is paid. Aligning on paid, doing your paid programs out here in silos, but not, and we're doing this with customers, and it's really very cool to see the intent score of accounts increasing over time the more you put paid ads in front of targeted prospects that you're trying to open the door of. And you just make it so much easier for your BDR teams and your account execs if you warm them up and put paid ads. And remember, don't just put any paid ads. Think about expert influencer content. This is authentic expertise. This is not generic ads. It has to have a face behind the expertise. A logo isn't expert, but your people are. So I thought that was quite an interesting. We've gone all the way around here, but we kind of covered 5 ways of alignment, giving some secrets away, and talking about what we do and how we do it. So
Yeah, we could talk about this for hours, right?
we could.
But we are finishing up for today. So I hope you enjoyed the session today. Feel free to pop any questions in the comments or send them directly to Sarah and I. You can connect to us on LinkedIn as well. And we have also created a blog on this. So the team will be posting this in the comments very soon. And this blog is also about the cost of not having the alignment between sales and marketing. So it's just expanding on this topic.
Yeah. Cheers, Felipe. This is quite fun, actually. It's the first one I've done. It's kind of just like one of our calls, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Fun.
Just a conversation. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Speak soon.
Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.